Her true story from Texas old woman broken heart. Her daughter said she was too old. She sold her car and filed for bankruptcy. Hooking plot, 2 paragraphs. She had worked her whole life, raised children through storms of poverty, and stood by them in sickness and need. But one evening in Houston, when the air was thick with Texas heat, her own daughter looked her in the eyes and said, "You're too old, Mom. I can't keep carrying you." Those words crushed her more than any illness ever could. With trembling hands, she sold her last car, the same one she had used to drive her daughter to school for years, just to keep the lights on. When the creditors called and the bankruptcy papers arrived, she thought her story was finished. But what nobody knew was that she had quietly kept every letter, every deed, every proof of what she had given to her family, and those dusty papers would one day turn her end into her greatest revenge. What began as humiliation soon became a legal firestorm. The daughter who dismissed her as a burden had secretly taken her mother's name off family property in Austin. But the old woman, broken and bankrupt, found an unexpected ally, a retired legal clerk who taught her how to use timestamp emails, old loan records, and even the metadata from scanned documents to prove the fraud. What followed was a journey from despair to vindication, from being silenced at her own kitchen table to standing in a Texas courtroom where her daughter's polished lies collapsed under the weight of quiet evidence. But the real twist was still to come. Background paragraph, 1 paragraph. My name is Martha Jean. I'm 74, and I was born and raised in a small farming town outside Lubbock, Texas. I grew up poor but honest, worked 2 jobs, raised 3 kids mostly on my own after my husband's heart gave out in his 40s. I never thought my children would turn on me, but the world has a way of shocking you. I used to make sweet tea in the afternoons and sit on my porch, proud that I'd given them more than I ever had. I didn't know that one day my own daughter would call me too old, strip me of what little I had left, and leave me signing bankruptcy papers in a cold Dallas office. But if you think that's the end of my story, you're wrong. What happened next changed everything. Chapter 1. My name is Martha Jean. I am 74 years old, and I never imagined that after raising 3 children alone in Texas, after surviving a husband's sudden death and years of hard labor, the most painful words I would ever hear would come from my own daughter's mouth. It was in Houston, the summer sun burning hot, when she looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Mom, you're too old. You're a burden. I can't carry you anymore." I thought I had misheard her, but she repeated it with no shame. I felt my chest cave in as if all the years I had given, every sacrifice, meant nothing. That same week, with trembling hands, I signed away my car, the old silver Toyota I had driven her to school in when she was just a child. I sold it for pennies just to cover groceries. And then came the paper's bankruptcy. Me, the woman who had worked herself half to death, standing in a Dallas office, signing away my pride. But little did my daughter know, this was not the end of me. It was only the beginning of something she could never undo. Chapter 2. When I walked out of that bankruptcy office, the wind stung my face. I didn't even have cab fare to get home, so I sat on a bench outside for hours, holding the folder of court papers in my lap. People passed me by without a glance. I was invisible. My mind wandered back to my younger years, growing up in Lubbock, walking barefoot on dusty roads, promising myself that one day my kids would never have to taste hunger the way I had. I kept that promise. I worked 2 jobs after my husband died, sewing clothes by night and cleaning houses by day. I was there for every school concert, every broken bone, every dream they ever chased. How could that same daughter call me too old? How could she throw me away like trash? That night, when I finally made it home to my small duplex in Dallas, I noticed something strange in my mail. A letter from the county clerk with my name nowhere on the deed to the land my late husband and I had bought decades ago. My hands shook. Had she removed me? Chapter 3. I couldn't sleep. I called my daughter the next morning, demanding to know why my name wasn't on the deed. She sighed and said, "Mom, it's complicated. Don't worry about it. Just trust me." But my gut told me the truth. She had taken me off. She had erased me from my own life. The land outside Austin was the only thing I had left of my husband, the man who built our little world with his bare hands. Tears rolled down my face, but anger rose with them. I went into my closet and pulled out an old shoebox. Inside were decades of letters, receipts, even the original purchase agreement my husband and I had signed. Proof. I didn't know it then, but that dusty shoebox would one day become my sword. And it all started with one visit to a stranger who became my unexpected ally. Chapter 4. At the Dallas Public Library, I met Clara, a retired legal clerk with sharp eyes and a kind smile. She noticed me struggling at the copy machine and asked if I needed help. I broke down right there, telling her about the bankruptcy, the betrayal, the missing deed. Instead of pity, she offered knowledge. She told me, "Paper never lies, Martha. If you've got the documents, you've got power." She showed me how to check timestamps, how to pull archived property records, and how to scan my old letters to reveal hidden metadata. My daughter might have thought she buried me, but Clara was teaching me to dig. That night, I went home with a folder full of copies, my heart pounding. For the first time in months, I felt something other than despair. I felt fire, but I didn't realize how quickly that fire would spread when my daughter found out I was investigating her. Chapter 5. The next week, she showed up at my doorstep, her face tight with anger. "Mom, what are you doing snooping around? Why can't you just let things go?" I saw fear in her eyes, though she tried to hide it. That confirmed it. She had stolen from me. She had erased me. I wanted to scream at her, but instead I stayed calm. Quiet justice. I let her think I was weak, while inside, I was gathering every weapon I could. After she stormed out, I sat at my kitchen table, staring at the bankruptcy papers, the shoebox, the deed copies. And that's when my phone rang. It was Clara. She whispered, "Martha, I think I found something you need to see." Chapter 6. Clara had uncovered a trail of emails between my daughter and a real estate broker. Hidden in the attachments were altered scans of my husband's signature, forged to make it seem like I had willingly signed away my rights. My heart nearly stopped. My own child had faked my dead husband's signature. I couldn't breathe. But Clara said something that stuck with me. "If she went this far, it means you've got leverage. She's scared." I held the printed emails in my lap, my hands trembling. For years, I had been the quiet, obedient mother. Now, I was holding evidence that could destroy my daughter's lies. But what would happen if I actually used it? Chapter 7. Days passed like a blur. I was terrified to act, but I couldn't stop. I filed for a property freeze with Clara's help, sending the clerk copies of the suspicious documents. A week later, I got the call. The county placed a hold on the land until the matter was resolved. My daughter's voice shook when she called me, furious. "Mom, what did you do?" That was the first time the power shifted. I wasn't her burden anymore. I was her threat. But victory came with loneliness. My phone never rang except with creditors, and my nights were silent except for the hum of the fridge. Sometimes I wondered if fighting was worth it. Then one night, I found something hidden in my shoebox that would change everything. Chapter 8. At the bottom of the box was a folded letter from my husband, dated 1991. In his handwriting, it said clearly, "In the event of my death, the land and house shall remain in Martha's name for her lifetime." My chest tightened. My husband had tried to protect me even from the grave. And now his words could be the weapon I needed. Clara scanned the letter, showing me how the ink, paper, and date aligned with authenticity tests. It was undeniable. I wept, holding that letter to my chest. But as much as it gave me hope, it also gave me fear. If my daughter was willing to forge signatures, what would she do when she learned I had this? Chapter 9. The answer came sooner than I expected. One evening, I returned home to find my duplex door wide open. Papers scattered, shoebox empty. My heart dropped. Someone had been there. The police shrugged, saying it looked like a simple break-in. But I knew. My daughter had crossed the line from betrayal to theft. That night, I sat in the dark, shaking, realizing I was in a battle I could no longer hide from. Clara's voice echoed in my head. Paper never lies. I had to take the fight public. Chapter 10. I filed a petition in Travis County Court. When my daughter was served, she sent me one final message. "You'll regret this." Those words haunted me. But in court, something powerful happened. The judge asked for the original deed, and my daughter froze. She presented her forged version, but Clara and I presented the original with dates, ink, and witnesses. The silence in that courtroom was heavy. For the first time, my daughter's mask cracked in public. But before the judge could make a ruling, a shocking witness stepped forward, someone I hadn't seen in decades. Chapter 11. It was my late husband's old friend, Harold, who had witnessed the signing of our deed all those years ago. He testified that he had been present, that I had never signed anything away, and that my husband's wish was for me to keep the land. My daughter's lawyer tried to object, but the judge listened closely. My daughter's face went pale. I thought that was the moment justice had been served. But the judge didn't rule right away. He said, "We need more evidence." My hope soared and crashed all at once. I had come so far, but victory still hung in the balance. Chapter 12. Weeks dragged on, the case delayed. I lived off food stamps and the kindness of neighbors. At night, I cried, thinking maybe my daughter was right, that I was too old to keep fighting. But Clara refused to let me quit. She told me, "Sometimes justice takes time, but silence gives power to liars." Then came the breakthrough. Metadata on the forged scans, proving they were created on my daughter's computer years after my husband had died. The truth was undeniable. But the final showdown in court would be brutal. Chapter 13. The courtroom was packed. My daughter walked in polished, confident, but I noticed her hands shaking. When the judge examined the metadata report, her lies unraveled piece by piece. Clara handed over the forged emails, the false deed, the authentic letter from my husband. The silence turned into whispers. My daughter broke down, sobbing, begging for mercy. The judge ordered the property restored to my name and referred the forgery to investigators. I had won, but as I walked out of the courtroom, clutching Clara's hand, a deep sadness hit me. I had won my land back, but I had lost my daughter forever. Chapter 14. Weeks later, I sat on my porch outside Austin, sipping sweet tea. The land was mine again, but the laughter of my children would never echo here. Neighbors congratulated me, but nights were still quiet. Justice can restore what was stolen, but it cannot mend what was broken. I often replayed her words, "You're too old." Maybe I was old, but I was not finished. I had shown the world that even the quietest, weakest-looking person could fight back. Still, deep down, I knew one final twist remained in this story. Chapter 15. Months later, I received a letter from my daughter. It was short. Mom, I'm sorry. I don't deserve forgiveness. But I hope one day you'll remember I was once your little girl. Tears blurred my eyes as I folded it away. Forgiveness is heavy, and I wasn't ready. But I learned this. You are never too old to stand for yourself, never too invisible to claim your truth. They may call you a burden, but burdens can become pillars when they refuse to break. My husband once said this land was mine for life, and I intend to live every last day on it with dignity. And maybe, just maybe, I will teach my daughter one final lesson, that love, once broken, can still be chosen again.